Hey, Armin here, and in this video I'm going to talk about why just doing straight sets for weight training is going to limit your gains. I see this with a lot of people that are in the gym, they're training, they do the same routine, the same sets, set after set, and rest, and the straight sets are going to work for a period of time, but as you get more advanced, it's not going to be the kind of results that you would get in the beginning. So here's some reasons why that is. First and foremost, and I've been training for 40 years, so I've experimented with all this as well, so this is why I'm making these statements, okay? So first and foremost, your central nervous system is going to become too efficient because as you do things mechanically, the body's designed to adapt to that stress and get as efficient as possible to make it easier. Okay, it makes sense. And so when you're doing it and the body's starting to figure it out, then the next step is you got to increase resistance or do something else to get more stimulation to actually break down more muscle. So another thing is because you're doing the same thing all the time, your mental focus and intensity is going to dip because, no matter if you do things repetitively, you're always going to be fresh to a certain point, but then you're going to start to kind of dread what you're doing. And this is another thing I see a lot of people do is they're doing the same thing and they're not getting any better at it. They're not adding any more reps. They're not adding any more weight. They're just kind of doing the same thing, hoping for a different result, and they're not even breaking down any muscle. So therefore, they're not going to get the kind of gains they're looking for, and they kind of get discouraged and don't know why. So these are some key things to keep in mind when you're doing your resistance training. If you're trying to maximize the return for your time and effort, because you can waste, which I've done, you can waste a lot of time in the gym but not paying attention to these details. All right, so another thing is when you're doing straight sets, you're always going to have a situation where certain muscles are going to fatigue too soon. So what do I mean by that? Okay, so if you're doing pull-ups, which is a great exercise, and you're doing straight sets with it, where you just do a set and rest, eventually the biceps is going to give out before your back does, okay? So you're always going to have limitations that way. And this is one of the reasons that when you're doing these kind of movements, you need to take that into account, and that's where pre-exhaust and some other higher intensity strategies can help you bust through any plateaus you're going to be making. So that brings up another point is when you're doing straight sets, you're going to tend to plateau quicker because as the body gets efficient, as it's getting to that maximum amount of stress it can handle with the joints and then the movement itself, then you start leveling out. And this is common, it's going to happen for everybody. So what are you going to do? Well, there's a lot of other strategies that you can do to kind of break through and not level out in a plateau. So this is what I'm kind of highlighting. So at the end of the day, what's important regarding straight sets is understanding that that'll get you to a certain point, and it'll get you strength, and it'll get you some muscle development. But if you're looking for more muscle development, okay, then you need to shock the system, so to speak, to break down more muscle. And so what builds muscle, okay, what you need to understand is intensity is what builds muscle. Intensity comes in a lot of forms. It can come in heavier weight, it can come in higher reps, it can come in doing negatives, it can come in doing really a slow tempo. The tempo can be a good change-up, and it can come in the form of trisets and supersets and giant sets where you go from one exercise to the next without any rest. And so other muscles have to engage to help accommodate that new stress because there is no rest. And as the other muscles fatigue, other muscles have to take over to try to get you through the movement. And then you'll see more activation more activation and also better development of the muscle by including other methodologies like, again, trisets and supersets and giant sets and drop sets and strategies like that. And that'll keep you getting gains. It'll also cause more soreness. It's gonna be more challenging. It affects you mentally too because as you do it a few times, you're gonna know this is gonna be rough. And it also takes the your heart rate gets jacked up, but that's just part of conditioning. So again, at the end of the day, if you're the type of person that's just gonna do straight sets all the time and expect to have ongoing gains, I'm gonna tell you right now, it's gonna start to get limited and it's not going to work for you long term. So you need to mix things in with the straight sets, and that way you can still use heavier weight and do some different higher rep schemes and other things to get the straight sets to work for you. But just doing a set and resting, doing a set and resting, do that over and over and over, you're only gonna get so much stimulation. So just want to bring that up, and again, if you have questions or comments on it, then let me know. But other than that, just want to let people be aware of that I have a different approach than what other people are doing, and this is one of the reasons that I'm having this video, is because you got to do more if you want to get good results and a well-developed physique than just straight sets. All right, other than that, good talking to you, and we'll talk to you again real soon.